There is a world's largest peaceful protest going on since last 30 days in India, where 250 million people are protesting on the streets, in the extreme cold winter weather, and 29 died due to the weather in spite of elaborate setup to deal with cold weather. The protest is an amazing feat of unity among the farmers who are demanding the newly passed bills to be revoked, as those bills have terms that are against farmer. Since government is spreading misinformation campaign, here we will try to look in details of each clause. Disclaimer: I am not a lawyer and trying to interpret these laws from the angle of farmers. Please feel free to comment in case any clarifications are needed. So these bills were passed during the COVID-19/corona lockdown by government. Timing of introducing these bills is a very important factor to be looked upon. Government wanted to take advantage of lockdown, thinking there will be no protest as people will be afraid of corona and would not come out. In case they do come out for protest, government can use the excuse of COVID-19 lockdown as a violation to suppress any protest. Hence government thought this is an emergency, and if it misses this opportunity, such a bill can never be passed. So government via ordinance measures are used in emergency where there is a national emergency, and got them passed. There was no voting allowed and bills were forcefully passed. India's Supreme Court Bar Association declared the passing of these bills as unconstitutional for two reasons: 1. How they were passed, and 2. Agriculture is a state subject and central government has no right to interfere in the state subject. Some states where there is no BJP government already refused to implement these rules and passed a legislature rejecting these rules. Next, those legislature need to be signed by President to be effective, but President struck down the legislatures and did not sign the bill. President is usually just a rubber stamp of the ruling government, so that was expected. Now farmers were left with no option but to protest against these rules in the capital of the country. Mocking the democracy, government even cancelled the winter session of the parliament to avoid facing the wrath of people and leader on this farm bills. The way government has taken over the pillar of democracy, should we consider that there now is one less democratic country on earth? And that India has joined the clubs of Russia and China where leaders want to rule the country perpetually. As UN and even the Supreme Court of India has mentioned that people in democracy has a right for the peaceful protest, but Indian government has ignored to listen because probably government does not consider itself a democratic nation, since they know that they have overtaken media, Supreme Court judge and police, which are pillars of democratic nation. Government is using state machinery to prevent people from joining the protest by detaining people and asking them to sign a bond of 50 rupees lakhs or 5 million rupees before they can take part in the protest. This would have been unheard of even in the countries that don't follow democracy. Not only that people are being detained but are also being threatened to not participate by filing extreme fake cases against them like murder. In place where there is a strong support, government blocks its own road by digging down 10 feet trenches, putting heavy machinery like loaded dumpsters and barbed wire to prevent people from participating in protest. Such kind of blockade are usually done against an enemy country, to prevent them their inward progress when our army has to flee. Not to forget, that government ordered police to shell tear gas and beat people with large batons and injuring large number of people. Why did you never heard about such a big protest? It's because Indian government has totally bought out almost all media channel, and whatever information is coming out from social media platform. To counter the media blockade, Farmers Union even launched their own social media platform. Here are the links to their official site. Look for the URLs in the comments section of this video. Coming down to the analysis of bills, let us look at the first bill. Let us analyze point number 3. This point says that farmer and traders shall have freedom to purchase and sell anywhere. Modi has advertised this statement over and over again with emphasis that he is creating one nation, one market. Here is a conclusion about this. Even currently farmers can sell anywhere, there are no such restrictions, hence it is a lie and misleading statement from government. On the contrary, government by introducing another platform/market is introducing two markets in one nations, hence this claims are false and misleading. So you may wonder, why is government creating another market? Remember, agriculture is state subject, so they cannot close the existing APMC market, hence they are introducing another parallel market. So why is government saying that they want to make one nation, one market when they are introducing another market? Yes, they will slowly achieve that, because in the newly introduced parallel market, when a trade, selling and purchasing, is carried out, there will be no tax. So corporate will purchase from the second newly introduced market and would offer little higher price than that of existing state government-run APMC markets since they don't have to pay tax. They can easily do this since in current market there is 8.5% duty, which would not have to be paid if transaction is done via this alternate market. So this second alternate market, even if you increase price by 4%, you as a corporate purchaser are still buying it at lower rate than that of APMC market. Now if nobody is selling their produce in the current state-run APMC market, APMC would not be able to sustain themselves and will eventually close themselves because of no business. So yes, eventually it will end up as one nation one market, as APMC market will go out of business. In Madhya Pradesh, after the introduction of this bill, already 49 APMC mandi are on verge of closing. So as soon as the state-run APMC market has gone out of business, the parallelly introduced market will be the only market through which farmers will have to sell their produce and at whatever rate the corporate want to buy. Remember how Reliance came into business? First they passed the Cell Phone Number Portability Act, so that people can easily port their number out. Next they launched this service for free for 1 year and there was great exodus from existing company. Once they got hold of large number of subscribers on their side, they started increasing the rates and now their rates are not much better than their competitors. Luckily not all competitors have gone out of business, otherwise Reliance would have been charging to their heart's wish. That is exactly the same plan in agriculture sector. Let's understand point number 4. It says that anybody with PAN card can do the purchase and sale of the farmer's produce. This may look like in favor of farmer, as long as there is a guarantee of payments before procuring the produce. Let us understand the point subsection 3 of point number 4. This terms looks in favor of farmer. Let us understand point 5 to 1 and 5 to 2. This terms looks in favor of farmer. Let's understand point number 6. It says there will be no tax on sale done via alternate market, as explained earlier in point number 1. This creates unleveling field. Let's consider that cost of produce is 1000 rupees per 100 kg. This is just for example and not an actual rate. If corporate buys this via APMC market, there will be additional 8.5% tax, varies by state, and it would cost corporate 1085 per 100 kilograms. In this farmer will get the price of 1000 rupees per kg and 85 rupees will go as tax towards APMC. Now if corporate says he will buy for 1050 per 100 kilograms but from newly introduced alternate market, who do you think farmer will sell to? Obviously via alternate market, right? So by buying it from alternate market, farmer gets more rate and purchaser can buy it for less rate. Looks like win-win situation for both farmer and corporate, right? If this continues honestly, then yes, it is a win-win situation for both. Corporates are greedy, corporate is giving you that rate because of competition. Now if no one is selling via the APMC market, it will eventually close down in a year or two, and when there will be no competition, do you think corporate will be honest enough to continue offering fair purchase rates to farmers? That is what farmers are fearing. And it is not just in fear but a reality. Consider a case of Bihar, where APMC market were officially taken out. The farmers of that state never get good rates, actually they have to sell at rates lower by 40 to 50%, and some farmers who can afford, come to the APMC market in Punjab and Haryana to sell their produce. So it is a fact and happening in Bihar state since 2006. Let's understand Clause 8, Dispute Resolution. In this clause the law clearly states that in case of dispute the only option that parties in dispute can avail is via SDM or appellate authority. The Clause 8.9 requires an attention here. Government is saying that farmers' land can never be taken over and farmers should not fear. In this clause it clearly says that in event there is a recovery of money to be done from farmer, his land can be acquired or sold by corporate. So government has been openly lying and misleading people on this. Also something to note here is that SDM and appellate authority are government nominee and can be easily influenced by government. They are also highly corrupt in their practice and can easily be exploited by rich corporate as well. In a democratic country, a law that takes away legal rights is astonishing. Should we interpret that it is end of democracy? Let's understand Clause 9.1. There it iterates again that farmers' land can be liquidated, taken over or sold to recover the loss by corporate via judgment given by SDM or appellate authority. Let's see this from the lens of contract farming. In contract farming, the contract will usually be drafted by the corporate and will have terms that favor corporates. They usually have terms of quality like color, size, moisture level, and pesticide level. So they can use any of those excuses to reject the purchase or cancel the contract and go to SDM to recover the investment that they may have done. Farmers are not so rich and won't have money to pay back and will eventually have to sell the land to settle the financial burden. This is actually happening and had happened to lots of farmers, so this is not just a speculation but a reality. Remember, farmer is not producing agriculture in the factory, he doing that out and is at the mercy of nature, like rain, weather, etc. Let's understand clause 10.1. This looks like in favor of farmer. Let's understand the clause 13 and 15. It clearly curtails the power of state government and asserts the authority of central government. In clause 15 it clearly takes away right of farmer to go into civil court. Not that if this was available farmers can win battle in the court against rich corporate, but to take it altogether away from farmer is unprecedented in democratic world. Let's understand the clause 17.1. This gives government the power to correct and modify via notifications. This is the main reason farmers are saying that these three bills should repealed / resigned / taken back, because nothing in this bills is of favor to farmers. Let's understand the clause 18. This is the reiteration of central government power that it can tweak the bill as may be needed just by notifications. Let's understand the clause 19.1. This clause says that if there are any difficulties in implementing these clauses, central government has right / power to remove such difficulties as it may deem necessary. This bill talks about pricing and contract farming. Let's us understand clause 3.1. It says farmer may enter written contract with corporate. Here thing to notice is that contract will be drafted by corporate and they will include terms that will favor them. They can include terms to cancel the contract on basis of quality, which could mean color, size, percent of pesticide, moisture, etc. Now remember that farmer does not grow the crops in factory and has very little control over the quality, because he is dependent on Mother Nature like rain, weather, temperature, insect infestation, none of which are in control of farmer, but will lead to corporate breaking the contract based on quality. Even seeds are supplied by third party. What if seed itself is problematic? Hence conclusion is that farmer is at serious disadvantage. What usually happens is that there will also be a price in the contract. Not to be confused with MSP price. This price could be below or above MSP, but will remember business will have it below or at MSP level. When the market falls below the guaranteed price mentioned in the contract, contractors / corporate will always come up with excuses on the basis of quality and refuse to purchase. Hence farmer will default and corporate can recover his investment by liquidating / taking over or selling the land that farmer owns, since that provision is available to corporate as we have seen it in the Bill 1. In case the price in the market is really above the guaranteed price, contractor / corporate is not bound to give any benefit of this high price and they even purchase even if there is a problem with the quality. This is not a fear but reality, as there are many instances where farmer have experienced this. Hence farmer is seriously at disadvantage, if the contract is not executed in honesty. Now everyone know that honesty has no place in corporate / business. Coming to the subject of MSP. Government publishes the MSP, minimum support price, but only in 2 states, Punjab and Haryana. Those prices are honored for purchase made via APMC market, that too only on 2 crops, wheat and paddy, and that too only on purchase done by state government. All the private players who purchase produce, they purchase it below the published MSP price. They can do so because there is no fine or penalty for purchasing produce below MSP. Imagine there is a suggestion that you must wear a seat belt, but no penalty or fine if you don't wear it. How many people do you think will wear a seat belt if they know there is no consequence or fine for not wearing it? Same is the case of MSP, it is published, but it is up to the purchaser / buyer to honor it. Also take the case of Bihar, there are no APMC market in that state and farmers have no option but to sell their produce 40 to 50% below the published MSP. Same is the case in other states too. We mentioned Bihar, because government want to apply Bihar model in every state. In short, farmers are not able to recoup the cost that goes into harvesting crop and end up under the burden of loans, and many of them break down under this pressure and commit suicide. Swaminathan Committee suggested that current MSP price is very low, and suggested that the new formula of C2 plus FL should be used to calculate MSP price. What government is saying that MSP will stay, which is very misleading. That does not imply that farmers will get MSP price. What farmers are saying, the MSP should be made a law, that if anybody forces farmer to sell below MSP or buys below MSP, there should be a jail term plus fine. This will guarantee that farmers get the published MSP price. And the MSP price should use new C2 plus FL formula to calculate MSP price. Let's understand clause point 5. This clause talks about having the price in the contract and how the variation will be dealt with and if any basis of reference is used. There is no mention that price should be above or at MSP. What usually happens is that if the market price goes lower than the price mentioned in the contract, contractors/corporate will find excuse very easily to reject the produce on the basis of quality, and farmer will not be left with any option but to sell to the same contractor at very low price or sell it elsewhere. In cases when the market price goes really higher than the contracted price, will the contractor pass the benefit to farmer? It is highly questionable that contractor would do so. So farmer is at a serious disadvantage here. Let's understand clause 6, 1. This clause seems to be in favor of farmer. Let's understand clause 7, 1. This clause makes hoarding legal. There are very interesting fact on how it is overriding every existing clause that puts limit on stocking the produce. The other interesting fact is that company named Adani has already built extremely big silos to store large amount of food stock even before this bill was introduced. So there is a clear nexus between Modi and his friends, Adani and Ambani. Let's understand clause 8. This clause looks like in favor of farmer, but does not answer the case that what if the contractor runs away and now farmer has to dismantle the structures left behind. This would create financial burden on farmer to remove the structures left behind. What is confusing in this clause is that there is mention in agreement that it cannot include agreement of transfer, sale, and mortgage of farmer's land. This conflicts with clause written in Bill 191, which clearly mentions that farmer land can be taken over to recover contractor's loss. I would leave it lawyers on how to interpret this clause in 8a. Let's understand clause 9. This clause looks like in favor of farmer. Let's understand clause 10 and 11. These clause looks neutral, but let me know in comment if you see it otherwise. Let's understand clause 13, 1. This clause talks about how to settle the dispute, clause favor corporate. Let's understand clause 14, 1. This clause lays down the rules where rules are extremely in favor of corporate. 1. Item 14, 7, clearly mentions that recovery from farmer can be done as arrears of land revenue, which essentially mean liquidating/taking over farmer's land. 2. Farmer has to settle the dispute via SDM or appellate authority. Farmer cannot go to civil court, which is an unprecedented rule in a democratic country. 3. SDM and appellate authority both are nominee of the ruling government and can be highly influenced by government. Secondly, they are known to be also highly corrupt and contractor can easily exploit that situation. In conclusion, this clause is dangerously against farmer. Let's understand clause 15. This clause again is very contradictory to other clause which clearly mention that recovery from farmer can be done by liquidating/taking over his land. I would leave this to lawyers on how to interpret this in case when there are contradictory rules. Let's understand clause 16. In this clause, government negating the powers of state government and cess center can supersede and direct state government. Remember, in the Constitution of India, agriculture is a state subject and this law is directly curtailing the power of state government. Let's understand clause 18. Here it is clearly taking away any right to challenge the judgment of SDM or appellate authority in civil court. Again, very unprecedented rule in a democratic country. Let's understand clause 19. This clause directly tells civil court that it has no authority to hear the case that had been judged by SDM or appellate authority. Again, all I can say is very unprecedented rule in a democratic country. Let's understand clause 20. This clause overrides an existing provision and says that on deals created from now on it overrides any and all existing state laws. Again, very unprecedented rule in a democratic country. Let's understand Clause 22. This clause asserts that center has powers to correct modify this laws at any time. You see why farmers are saying that they want these bills to be taken back, because every clause is against farmer, they don't want to amend it. Let's understand Clause 23. This clause gives state government very limited power of administrative task related to executing these rules. Center does not want to be responsible for the nuances of administrative work related to this bill. Let's understand Clause 24. This clause asserts that Center has power to remove any difficulty implementing these laws. Let's talk about the third bill. The Essential Commodities Amendment Act 2020. This third bill does not affect farmers at all, but farmers are asking this to be taken back because they know the effect of this bill on general public. What this bill allows is that it makes hoarding and price hiking legal. What will happen is that because of hoarding, these private players will purchase maximum produce and store it. What that means is that there will be very less food that will go in FCI, Food Corporation India. FCI is responsible to procure food for emergency, and another government organization, PDS, Public Distribution System, is responsible to supply food to poor people at rationing. What will happen is that slowly FCI and PDS will be closed. Big corporate will now compete with FCI and eventually FCI will shut down. Secondly, since these big corporations will be able to store lots of food, and they are allowed to raise the price up to 99% before violating any rule. So by purchasing and stocking the food, they would create artificial food scarcity, and then they would hike the price and sell the same food at higher price. So this would affect every citizen of India except farmers.